Me being mistaken isn't that unusual. Okay, I'm gonna,
Oh, so you have to click on the blue line.
you have to click on what?
Blue line?
Okay, so there's a blue line, and if you click on it, and again,
Yeah.
is when I look at it, even in student view, because I did not take attendance for myself as a fake student, nothing comes up. But it should have every day, and what I do eventually go through and do is delete the days that class did not meet. Who does not say anything? If there is a problem with what's recorded there, talk to me after class or send me an email. Let's see, where are we going next? In Blackboard, in content, is a folder that's called projects. In projects, there is a document, Project 1 survey. And I'd like to go through that document with you. Okay, so this activity is intended to provide practice in the use of Venn diagrams to sort responses to a survey. Decide on a topic for your survey. It can be anything, absolutely anything that interests you. Come up with 3 questions. What you have to do when you're coming up with those 3 questions is make sure that they're questions that only have 2 possible answers, categorical questions, yes, no questions. You don't want a question that has an infinite number of answers, because that's really tough to put in loops in a Venn diagram. So for example, let's say your survey is about colors. You can't ask somebody, what's your favorite color? Because there's hundreds of colors that somebody could pick as their favorite color. So if you're interested in color, rather than having a big category, what's your favorite color, you might instead have a question like, do you like blue? So that people who like blue can be in a loop, and then people who don't like blue would be the complement of that set. If you're asking people, what's your age? When you look at what's your age, again, there's a bunch of different answers that people can come up with. So if you ask people, what's your age, you really need to focus it like I did in this example here. Are you 20 or over? People 20 or over are in the loop. People under 20 are out of the loop. You want to raise your questions so that they can be either inside a set or the complement of the set, and not have a whole bunch of possibilities. Everybody all right with that?
Yeah.
Then after you come up with your questions, you have to interview at least 20 people. You need to get at least 20 responses. I know during the pandemic, you're supposed to socially distance, so you might not actually come in contact with 20 people, but I am guessing that all of you are on some form of social media where you can get responses from 20 people to 3 questions.
Okay.
Construct a Venn diagram. You're actually going to construct 2 Venn diagrams, one to sort and one to just identify the regions of the Venn diagram. And then what you have to do, you have to write a paragraph summarizing your results. So what you're going to do is you're going to turn in your questions. And so that list of questions is worth 5 points. So just write down the questions I asked were 1, boom, boom, 1, 2, 3. That's 5 points. You're going to turn in your record of your responses. 20 lines saying how each person answered. You know, if you want to put the names of the person, you can. I guess if you don't want to put the names of the person, if you think they're confidential, you just need to show me your 20 different results. 2 Venn diagrams. Each Venn diagram is going to be worth 5 points. So the 2 Venn diagrams is worth 10 points. In the brief report, and by brief, I mean a paragraph is fine. If you want to do more than a paragraph, that's great. But just something summarizing what you did and what you learned and how it applied to the Venn diagrams. That paragraph is worth 5 points. On this, Most people get well over, so that adds up to 25 points. Most people get well over 20 out of 25. The only people who get below 20 out of 25 are people who skip something. If you only give me one Venn diagram, you lose 5 points. If you don't write a paragraph, you lose 5 points. If you don't clearly state the questions, you lose 5 points. It's usually not a difficult one.
Wasn't
So,
this due the other day, right?
What?
Was this not due the other day?
Initially it had said it was due the other day, but then we hadn't talked about it in class, and so I said that in class, I think I said a couple of times, it won't be due until a week after I talk you through it.
Ah, okay.
So I'm talking you through it today on the 23rd, so it'll be due on the 30th.
If I already submitted it, am I able to
Tweak it?
If I already submitted it, can I go back and edit it a little bit?
I will change the settings so that you can, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And you know what? I can make all of those promises that I want, but if I don't write it down, I won't remember it. So
Okay.
set project for 2 possibles.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And I'm sorry that there was a confusion there. So first, in my example, my questions were, what's your gender? And I have to apologize, I've been using this example for a very long time, and it was from a different era. It's going on the idea of people being cisgender. So either you identified as male or not male. Is your age 20 or over? So again, if you ask age, make a cutoff point so that you can put it either in a loop or out of a loop. And then probably the most important question you can ask anybody, right, is, are you taking a math class?
Mm-hmm.
So then
Do you have to ask those questions, or can you make your own?
you're making your own questions on whatever you want. So you might ask people, I think I've had people ask about pets. Do you have a cat? Do you have a dog? Do you have a goldfish? I've had people ask about, do you work? Just anything that interests you. I've had people ask about sports. Do you like football? Do you like baseball? Do you like hockey? I've asked people ask about sports participation. Did you ever play a sport? Did you, were you involved in, other things? Anything at all that interests you. If it's not interesting to you, it won't have any meaning for you. Pick 3 questions that you're curious about, okay? What do you want to do? Go ahead, Adam.
Okay, so since you brought up social media, I was going to ask if it was fine if I did like a Google form, which is basically something for surveys to help out with this.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay,
That's
good.
perfectly fine. That's a level of technology I'm not excellent at, but go for it. However you want to get those responses. And I've
All
had
right,
people
cool.
ask about, it's social media. Are you on this social media? Are you on that social media? I guess if you really want to poke the bear, current climate, you could ask people about their politics. Although current climate, I think if you ask people about their politics, you might come out with the bruises. So we'll leave that be. So make a list of the questions. Listing them like this is 5 points. Make a list of your responses. Making the list is worth 5 points. Make sure you have 20 responses. Some people only have 19 responses. If you only have 19 responses, you'll probably get 24 out of 25 instead of 25 out of 5 on the project. Then when I say draw 2 Venn diagrams, and I have to apologize, I did not realize that this uploaded this ugly. I should have saved it as a PDF and uploaded it as a PDF instead of as a Word document. But you see how in this first Venn diagram, I have the top loop is males, so people inside the loop are males, people outside the loops are not males. The next loop over here is for people 20 or over. People inside the loop are 20 or over. People outside the loop are not 20 or over. This third loop is people who take a math class. People in this loop take a math class. People outside don't take a math class. So if I look at, let's say, this region, it would be males under 20 that are not in a math class. This region doesn't make sense. If I'm outside of males, it would be females. I'm outside of 20 or over, so they're under 20, and they're in a math class. And over here, this rest of the universe would be females under 20, not in a math class. So you're going to label it according to the questions you asked so that it's clear to you each region who goes in there. And it's clear to me as the reader, each region who goes in there. Is everybody all right with this first generic Venn diagram?
Yes.
And then your second Venn diagram is going to have the cardinality based on your survey. So for example, in my make-believe survey, there were 7 people who were not male, under 20, taking a math class. There were 3 people who were male, 20 or over, taking a math class. So then put the cardinality in each region. All right? Heads up, when you do this part, when you do this putting in the cardinality, the total of the cardinality should equal the total number of people you surveyed. You have to have at least 20 people. If you're really excited and want to talk to more than 20 people about your 3 really pressing questions, that's okay. Just keep it at 20 is the minimum. Is everybody all right with this project? It's
Yes.
not real difficult. I have to apologize, you know, in a non-pandemic world, it's much easier to, you know, get answers from 20 people. But I'm guessing that you are probably in contact with 20 people. And I guess, now this is just a random thought, I think there are over 20 people in class. If you wanted to, you could help each other out and send each other Blackboard emails with your questions and get responses from your peers in class that way too. If you know, you don't get in touch with 20 people outside of the people in this math class. All right? So that's what the project is. You will get a project like this for each unit, because each unit that we're doing, there should be something in there that has some sort of practical application for it.
One last question. Sorry.
What?
So are we just putting the numbers in the appropriate spot for the diagram of
Yes.
what our results are? Okay.
But make sure the loops are labeled, because if the loops aren't labeled, it's meaningless, right?
Yeah.
And
Got that
also,
already.
another question that people have asked, you do not have to type it. I want to tell you that this Venn diagram was a pain in the ass to type. You don't have to type it. I mean, it was, you know,
Okay.
doing the loops, circles, and making sure that they were clear so that you could see the overlap, and then putting in a text box for each number. It's not fun. If you really like typing, you can type it and you can enter it into the Dropbox as a Word diagram. But if you'd rather write it out by hand, I am perfectly fine with that. Just submit pictures in the Dropbox in Blackboard. All right?
Right.
So then going back to the project, let me just make sure that I am not a liar. And so this is where you're entering your project, and I'm going to edit it. I think I'm going to edit it. Here, I'm going to edit it. And so it is due where'd it go? Today's the 23rd. So it will be due on the 30th, giving you a week for it. By 11:59, it's out of 25 points, and it will go in the category as a project. And now I apologize. I don't mean to be moving you people all over the place, but I have to submit those changes.
Okay.
All right. So the second here is the document explaining the project. the first is where you put your answers in, and we'll have again 4 projects over the course of the semester. Everybody okay on the project? And while I was in there, I should have made the changes so that you can redo it, but I'll make those changes outside of class time. That's a little bit more involved for me to do. If that's all right, then yay. Oh, if I look in my labs, I don't want to look at the test until Friday, and we will look at the test on Friday. Outside of looking at the test, homeworks 1 through 5 should be done by now. Again, when you're doing a homework, if you did not do one, and it says past due, you can still go in there and work on it. Or when you were doing a homework, if you had maybe 5 questions you didn't get to, if you leave them blank, you get 0 credit for them. If you go back in and work on them, I promise that you will get at least half credit for anything that you work on after the due date. In order to lose 50 points, 50% of it, I think it has to be like 20 days late. If anything's less than 20 days late, you will get like more than half credit for it. Please make sure you get caught up with the homework, because that next assignment, homework 6, is not due until Monday. And the reason it's not due until Monday is because we're talking about that stuff today. And I try not to have things due the very next class, so that if you have questions, you can ask them. Does anybody have questions on any of the homework problems? If not, we're switching gears a little bit. We had been working in sets. We are now going to be working with probability. And we're going to find the first couple days of probability, we're not going to be doing a lot of probability, but rather we're going to be looking at how to count. And so today's lesson I usually call the, whoops, there you go, the tablet just slid, if you're wondering why I went whoops. Today's lesson I usually call the fundamental counting principle. And the reason I call it the fundamental counting principle is because usually it's fun. Usually this assignment is probably one of the least stressful for most students, actually, out of all of the ones this semester. And so we're looking at this again because the idea is that counting is important in probability. And so before we look at what the fundamental counting principle says, I'd like to look at an example. And so in my example, let's say that Susie Q is picking an outfit. Let's say she has, let's say she has 4 sweaters and 3 pairs of jeans. And so using those, I want to know how many are possible. And we're not going for the layered look here. Each outfit is 1 sweater and 1 pair of pants. How many different outfits are possible?
3.
She's got 4 different sweaters and she's got 3 different pairs of pants. How many ways can she combine? Can she combine them to come up with the different looks. Let's say her jeans are 3 different colors. She's got white jeans, blue jeans, and green jeans.
7.
I'm hearing 7. I'm hearing 12.
12.
I'm hearing 3.
12.
12? I'm thinking that 12 is the way to go. Those of you who are thinking otherwise, let's say the first thing she does is she picks a sweater. And so, folks, this is why I teach math and not art. She has 4 different sweaters. Those look like sweaters, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
And they're silly. They're numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then if she wears sweater 1, she has 4 pairs of pants she can pick from. I'm sorry, no, she has 3 pairs of pants she can pick from. If she wears sweater 2, she has 3 pairs of pants she can pick from. If she wears sweater 3, she has 3 pairs of pants that she can pick from. And if she wears sweater 4, she has 3 pairs of pants that she can pick from. Please notice that they're getting worse as they go along. Oh my God, that last one looks like a molar they just pulled. Ouch. And so as you look at it, does everybody see there's 12 outfits? Sweater 1 with each of the 3, sweater 2 with each out of 3, sweater 3 with each of the 3, sweater 4 with each out of 3. And so if you're really a glutton for punishment, unless you're an artist, if you're an artist and you want to draw it every time, fine, but it takes a little bit longer. Can anybody see another way besides drawing this picture that I could have come up with that number 3 from the,
Multiplying 4 times 3.
yeah, isn't it? 4 times 3 equals 12 outfits. And so that's what the fundamental counting principle says. The fundamental counting principle says that if you can choose 1 from M objects, M being a variable, and 1 from N objects, N being a variable, then there are M times N total choices. Or if one event can occur M ways and another event can occur N ways, there's M times N possible outcomes. So some of these examples are pre-pandemic, although I guess you can still go to restaurants and you can still order takeout. So let's say I'm going to a restaurant. This is an example. And at a very particular restaurant, all they do is serve grilled cheese sandwiches. You can pick 1 from 4 breads, 4 types of bread. So let's say they have white bread, wheat bread, sourdough, and rye. And you can pick 1 from 5 types of cheeses. Let's say American, cheddar, Swiss, mozzarella, and I don't know, what do you guys want to pretend that the cheese is?
Swiss.
Swiss?
Did you say that or?
I don't know if I can't remember if I did or not, so we'll add Swiss.
Okay.
Swiss math.
Okay. How many sandwiches are possible?
Funny.
You know what? I love that you could come up with the answer quicker than it was to make up the question, right? So
Yeah.
4 times 5 is 20. And so can you imagine all of the different scenarios that you might run into in the homework? And how maybe it might not be one of the world's most challenging assignments.
Yeah.
But they do get a little bit more involved. And I did that quickly. I was a bad person. I didn't say, is everybody all right if I turn the page before I turn the page? I'm sorry. Is everybody all right if I turn the page? We good? Then let's look at another example. Let's say we're making the schedule for spring. Oh Lord, how do you spell for? It's not F-R-O, it's F-O-R. And you're gonna take 4 classes. And you and your advisor narrowed it down. You wanna take one of each from each category. One from each, I guess area would be better than category. So let's say there are 3 possible math classes. Let's say there are 2 possible science classes. Let's say there are 4 English classes that you can pick from. And let's say there are 2 psych classes you can pick from. How many schedules are possible?
48.
I'm still like shaking my hand out from writing that. Tell me where you got the 48 from. Because I like it.
I multiplied 3 by 2 by 4.
And so is everybody all right if there are more than 2 different categories that you're picking from? You're just going to make a product for each. Is that one straightforward enough? Can
Yeah.
everybody picture a couple of problems like this in the homework? Next one's a little bit dicier. Next one's a little bit more thought-provoking. Let's say you're taking a true-false quiz. Is everybody all right if you take a true-false quiz, even if you don't know it all? You don't want to ever leave them blank, because if you leave it blank, you're never going to get it right. If you just guess, you got a 50-50 shot. So we're going to say no blanks.
Yeah.
Let's say it has 6 questions. If you're just guessing, how many ways can you answer it? Not many. So you're not prepared at all. You're just kind of going through and randomly doing, whatever, oh, true, oh, let's make this one a false, true, true, false, or true, 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 false, or, how many different possible ways can we answer this quiz?
Is it 12?
Nope. That's usually what people think. But this one, it's not going to be 12. How many decisions?
24.
How many questions are we answering?
6.
6.
6.
So is
And each one
everybody
has-
all right? I have to make 6 different decisions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different decisions.
Yeah.
With me so far. For the first question, how many choices do I have?
2.
2.
For the second question, how
2.
many? 2. Next, 2, then 2, then 2, then 2. And the counting principle tells me to multiply those. So wouldn't this be 2 to the 6, which is 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64
64.
ways. A little bit different. It's just multiply. But what you have to realize with something like this is the number of questions is the number of decisions, the number of choices you make. And we have a number of selections for each. So similar yet different question. This time, let's say that we're dealing with multiple choice. There's, let's say, 10 questions. Each has 4 choices. How many ways can we answer it if we're just guessing?
4 to the 10.
Yep. And I'm going to be that person just to make sure it's clear to everybody. 10 blanks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4 choices each. So we're making 10 decisions, and each decision has 4 possible answers. And so that would give me 4 to the 10th. And does anybody have a handy dandy calculating machine that can figure that out? Most calculators, you're going to type the 4, and then a lot of calculators, there's an arrow up button,
Oh,
and you're going to type the number 10. Some calculators, instead of an arrow up, you might have y to the x, or you might have x to the y. Anybody
Hey.
get an answer here?
yeah. I got, I think, 1,048,576.
1,048,000, that's a 0, by the way.
Yeah.
576 ways. So, 10 question multiple choice, you're just guessing. There are over 1 million ways of just guessing. Of those 1 million ways, how many would get you all the questions right? 1. There's only 1 right answer for each. So something to think about. Another way in which this is used, has anybody ever thought about phone numbers? If a phone number, and I'm going to have it with an area code. And so the area code is 3 digits, and then the number itself is 7 digits. In the area code, and the number itself, did anybody ever notice that they never start with 0 or 1?
No.
The first digit, either here or here if you're dialing without an area code, won't be a 0, because back in ancient times, if you dialed 0, you got the operator. So if you dialed 0 before anything else, it didn't matter. If you dialed 0, you got the operator. And then I don't think it's so much the case with cell phones anymore, but is everybody familiar with, on a landline phone, if you start with a 1, it means you're dialing long distance. So phone numbers don't start with a 0 or a 1. So I'm wondering how many numbers are possible.
So both would be 7 possible numbers for the first 2, and then
I don't think 7. Because
9
if
minus.
digits, we're working in a base 10 number system. Aren't there 10 digits? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh,
9.
so 8.
So there's 8 possible for the first in the area code and the first in the number.
Mhm.
And then beyond that, there's 10 for each.
Mhm.
So 8 times 8 is 64. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 zeros after it. So there are, what is that, 6,400,000,000 possible phone numbers. Huh. Interesting.
Uh-huh.
Is there enough, do you think? I don't know. It amazes me. Now I'm going off on a tangent. Phone number stories. Once I moved into the Hudson Valley, and it was way before cell phones, and I had the hardest time getting the phone company out there to give me phone service. And then when they gave me phone service, I was fine for a month, and then I got a phone call from the state police telling me that I was making phone calls using somebody else's number. The number they had given me was somebody else's number for their vacation home. And so I was accused of stealing a phone number to make long distance calls way back in the day. And it was because they gave me somebody else's number. So maybe in that area there weren't enough numbers. I don't know. Kind of crazy. So one more. Let's look at license plates. And we're going to look at non-vanity, not commercial. In New York. I don't know about you, your vehicle, but I don't have the commercial plates and I don't have a commercial vehicle. My license plate has let me try that again. My license plate has 3 letters and 4 numbers. How about you folks? Your license plates, is it 3 letters followed by 4 numbers?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think so.
Well, and how do I figure that out?
There's 27 letters to choose from first, right?
26.
26, okay.
I mean, we could sing the song in counts. There's 26 letters altogether. Can letters repeat in a license plate?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's see. There are 3 letters, and each letter has 26 possible. And there are 4 numbers. Can numbers repeat on a license plate?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
And can you have a 0 on a license plate?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
numbers? Yeah. So there's 10 choices for each.
I have a question. Why is there 10 if you can't use the number 10? Wouldn't it be 9?
But we can have a 0.
There's 10 total digits.
I understand. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
We can have a 0, which I'm trying to think. What is my license plate? I don't think my license plate has a 0 in it. And now I'm trying to remember the license plate of every blood relative, and of course I can't think of it. But you've all seen a license plate with a 0 in them, haven't you?
Yeah.
I think so.
All right. And so now I've got this 3 26s and 4 10s. What should I do with all those numbers?
Multiply?
Yep. And so multiplying 26 to the 3rd, 26 times 26 times 26, I'm getting 17576. And then multiplying that by 10 4 times has the effect of adding 4 zeros. And so what is that? 175,760,000 license plate numbers. Think that's enough?
So
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If the numbers, let's start with if the letters couldn't repeat, the first number option would be 26, and then the second one would be 25,
Uh-huh,
and the third would be 24.
uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, guess what? I have to put a disclaimer in here. I did not pay her to say that because that's where we're going next.
Oh, sorry.
I loved it. Your question, I love it, love it, love it more than anything. When people ask a question that leads into the very next place we're going, because it tells me you're thinking about things, and it tells me you're thinking about things in the right way. So I'm really, really, really impressed. Where we're going next is something that are called permutations.
Okay. Just
Has
to point out,
anybody ever heard? Oh crap! No. Are we done?
Yep.
well, it's 10:51 on my end.
Okay, I guess we're done. And so permutations is the next section of the textbook. So I guess we'll do that next day. The homework 6 is just on the fundamental counting principle, and we'll pick up with permutations next time. And is it me or did that class go really fast today?
It
But
did.
we also covered
It
the
went
project.
fast.
Yeah. So, well, I guess if it goes fast, it means I'm not being too terribly boring.
Hopefully.
I'm going to, let's see, what are we going to do here? I'm going to, somewhere along here, I have to move you guys. I have to stop sharing. Once I stop sharing, I'll stop recording.